My name's Brian, recovered alcoholic. My sobriety date's February 2nd, 1997. For that, very grateful. Let's I'm gonna do a little history workshop kind of thing and dig into a little bit of stuff that I think that would be interesting to everybody. But before we do any of that, this is not going to be like a regular workshop. It's not going to be like a regular meeting. I might even ask questions just to keep it interactive. But before we get in and start, I always like to just do a moment of silence, each one of us, to invite God into this. You know, I never know where this is going to go, but when I invite God into it, and just let God guide me. So let's just take a moment of silence and for each one of us to invite our higher power in our sacred space here. Okay, thank you. I want to say the set aside prayer is: God, help me to set aside everything that I think I know so I can have an open mind and a new experience. Please help me see the truth. Amen. All righty. I'm going to jump right into this. I don't know what people know about the history or not. I don't, you know, I've really been involved in AA for a really long time. I first got involved in the early 90s. And, I got a different message in the 90s, a different message. The message just watered down. And I didn't stay sober. The next time I'm, the next time I'm desperate, this last time I was desperate, I got arrested. Wife wants a divorce. You know what I mean? Everything's falling apart now. Where before, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But now everything's completely falling apart, and I'm falling apart on the inside, and I got to get a message. I need the message as quick as possible and as soon as I can, because if I don't, I already know I'm going to drink. And it just all bets are off. Once I start, you know, it's all bets are off. Once I start, I have no control. And so when somebody sat down with me, it doesn't matter whether it's another alcoholic or another addict. None of that mattered. What mattered is that somebody sat down with me and they guided me through that process. And they didn't waste any time, because I didn't have time to waste. When we're sick and suffering, I need the medicine, all of it. But what I want to talk about here is that first I want to talk about is that, Dr. Bob tried to stay sober on the Oxford group, and he failed. He tried. So the Oxford group was in Akron. The Oxford group's in New York. It's this, Christian-based fellowship, and they do practice the four absolutes, and they practice two-way prayer, But the problem is that Dr. Bob was missing the problem and the solution. Even though he knew it was a spiritual solution, he didn't understand the problem and the solution to the problem to be able to apply what he's been trying to do with Anne, his wife. They've been trying to get him sober for years, and nothing's working until one day, Bill visits him, you know. But before I even go there, I want to talk a little bit about, I want to talk about Bill, and I want to talk about this message that Bill's going to carry. I'm going to go here for a second, and I'm going to show you my archives here. So here's Bill with Ebby. As Ebby calls him up. I want you to think about if you're in 12-step call. Now you're on step 12. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to call somebody that you know, and then you're going to go visit him. And that's exactly what Ebby did. Ebby went and visited Bill at his home. Remember Bill was still drinking, right? Bill was still drinking. Ebby visits him in his home. They're high school friends. They're high school buddies, right? Ebby comes to his house and says, Bill, guess what? I'm sober now. And guess what? I'm sober 2 months. And Bill goes, yeah, whatever. My preaching will, I mean, your preaching, my drinking will last longer than your preaching, because he said, oh, I found God. But he also said that he also brought this message of these four spiritual activities that were from the Oxford group, which is first one, is surrender. right? Surrender. As we know today, it's steps 1, 2, and 3. It's a process of surrendering, okay, to God. And then step 2, the second one was sharing, which we know is step 4 and 5, or 6 and 7, sharing with God. And then the third one is amends. So we got surrender, uh, sharing, amends or restitution, and guidance. These were the 4 spiritual activities that they did. And you can find these in the forward to the second edition. Also, the only other thing that we have for documentation on how they went through the steps is Bill's story. And Bill documented it. As you can see, I wrote them down which one. So you got step 1, step 2, step 3. And he did his step 3 in the hospital for the last time. So he was in the hospital for the last time is when he actually did his 3rd step prayer. Then you got step 4, we got 6, 7, 5, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So they're all right there in his story. But when Ebby came to Bill and brought him that message, he said, why don't you choose your own conception of God? Right? Bill had a spiritual experience. Bill had a spiritual experience when Ebby came to his house, okay, and said, that was when he carried the message. Why don't you choose your own conception of God? Was at Bill's house, not in the hospital. And he said, Bill, we got to do these 4 spiritual activities for you to have an experience in order for you to get sober. And Bill said, okay. And what did Bill do? A month later, sometime, not even a month later, because we're talking Armistice Day, which is November 11th, and then not even a month later was the sobriety date. And he went to the hospital for the last time, and that's when Ebby showed up at the hospital and took him through this process. And Bill had another experience in the hospital. And think about this experience. He's gone through this process. He's in the hospital, and he goes, what about those other alcoholics that were hopeless as me? And again, that's where that comes in, the man in the bed. So now Bill's on a mission to find another alcoholic or somebody else. It don't have to be another alcoholic. He wants someone to work with, you know? So Bill gets on this thing. And so he gets on this tangent where he's helped over 50 people and none of them stay sober. And he goes to his wife and he goes, Lois, this thing ain't working. And she goes, yeah, but Bill, he goes, I've helped over 50 people and none of them have stayed sober. And Lois says, but Bill, you're sober 6 months. 50 people in 6 months, man. He was on fire, right? 6 months. He's sober. He's trying to work out a deal. We're talking 1934. What are we, coming out of the Depression and stuff? Bill's trying to look for a job. Bill gets a prospect in Akron for a rubber company to take over He's going to take over Firestone and be like the man. So he goes to Firestone. He goes to Akron to Firestone, and the deal doesn't fall through. Now he's desperate. He's thinking he's going to get a drink. He's not making any money. And that's where, one phone call leads him all the way to Dr. Bob. Now, again, Dr. Bob has been trying every means to stay sober and nothing's working, right? Bill makes a phone call, and then the phone call gets to Dr. Bob or to Ann. And this is what Bob says. Bob says, I will meet with that guy, Bill, but I'm only going to meet with him for 15 minutes. I want you to think about this for a second. 15 minutes. 15 minutes. And they talked for over 6 hours. Think about that. When you're in the middle of that stuff, do you really want someone to talk to you about your drinking? Nope. That's why you said I'll give him 15 minutes and that's it. Because I already know he's going to talk to me about my drinking and how bad it is. But instead, Bill didn't. Instead, Bill talked about his drinking and his problem and how he overcame the drinking with the spiritual solution. And guess what happened after that meeting? After that meeting, Dr. Bob, goes and does an operation and doesn't come home. And that night he completes all his amends. That's how much of an impact Bill had on Bob. Bill completed his amends. Now we're talking 1935, where it's much easier to make amends all in your neighborhood because you don't really leave it. Nowadays we can get an airplane and be in a different country in just hours. But that was the birthplace of Alcoholics Anonymous, when 2 guys came together, and they celebrate that on June 10th every year. And I'm just doing this in honor of these 2 guys, Bill and Bob. When one talks with another, shares experience, strength, and hope, guess what happens? So I want to go over here, and I'm going to go down here where it talks about the 4 absolutes. It says the 4 absolutes, as we recall them, were the only yardstick we had in the early days before the steps. I think the absolutes still hold good and can be extremely helpful. I have found at times that a question arises and I want to do the right thing, but the answer is not obvious. Almost always, if I measure my decisions carefully by the yardsticks of absolute honesty, absolute unselfishness, absolute purity, and absolute love, and it checks up pretty well with those four, then my answers can't be far out of the way. So that's all they had was the four absolutes, and that's how they measured everything they said and did. I also found this when I was at Akron, when I was at Dr. Bob's house, and it's a review of the first three steps, and it's just a bunch of questions, and it says take this third step prayer. We were meant to take the first three steps in one session, in one shot. Do that whole surrender that it talks about, right? Again, the four absolutes. Both got to be absolute honest in ourselves, with ourselves, in word, deed, and thought. I'm just reading it right there. Absolute unselfish, to be willing, whenever possible, to help others who need our help. Absolute love. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And absolute purity. Purity of mind, of body, and of purpose. Up here it says the 12 steps in the four absolutes. An ethical conduct of Alcoholics Anonymous is based on two definite sets of laws, known as the 12 steps and the four absolutes. Years of hard experience have definitely proved that those who live up to these rules remain sober, and those are inclined to gloss over any single rule are in constant danger of returning to their old way of living. Thousands of words could be written on such rule. Lack of space prevents that here. So they are merely listed. They should be explained thoroughly by your sponsor. You see that? They should be thoroughly by your sponsor. Right there, by your sponsor. Explained by your sponsor. And if he cannot explain them, he should provide someone who can. And then I just read all these right there. And that's how important it was. You can buy the Four Absolute pamphlet with the historical movements, with the historical look at the effects of Oxford movement and the Four Absolutes and Alcoholics Anonymous, and you can get that at Akron Intergroup, and you can also get it at Cleveland Intergroup. I love this pamphlet. Okay, so early in Akron, Dr. Bob, they commissioned a bunch of pamphlets, Guide to the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. But the reason why is that it says, what I highlighted was these of instruction classes conducted by veteran members of the group. So it was not uncommon to be somebody that has a veteran member of the group to be leading something like what I've been doing, like with the workshop. And it says right here, it is important. This is from Akron, the birthplace of AA. Off of the pamphlet, from the first page of the pamphlet, it says it's important that the newcomer be introduced to the 12 steps as early date as possible. On these rules depend his full recovery. It gets right down to the point like that, huh? Okay. So we kind of know what's going on. Bill carries the message to Bob. Bob's out. He comes across, alcoholic number 3. And next thing you know, they got a little group going on of AA people, right? Let me introduce you to another character. This is Ann Smith. It's Dr. Bob's wife. She was real heavily into the Oxford group movement, really heavily into prayer and meditation. She was referred to as the mother of AA, the loving spiritual rock. Because what she did in Akron with Dr. Bob's house is she did two-way prayer every single morning. Ann Smith, mother of AA, as called by Bill Wilson, the founder of AA, the mother of AA, it was she who read the Bible daily to Dr. Bob and Bill during the summer of 1935, when Bill was living with the Smiths and the spiritual recovery principles of AA were being developed. It was she, beginning in 1933, who recorded the basic ideals of the Bible, the Oxford Group's life-changing program, the quiet time practice, the Christian literature, and the practical ideas of dependent upon God that became part and parcel of AA's 12 steps and AA's fellowship, and resembled these in her journal from 1933 to 1939. She read from this journal and used it as a basis for discussion for AA's earliest quiet time days at Smith's home in Akron. Anne was declared to be one who gave Bill W. and Dr. Bob a much-needed spiritual infusion. She attended all pioneer meetings. She acted as house mother, nurse, evangelist, counselor, and employment agent for AA pioneers and their families. To know what Ann Smith wrote and was teaching is to know the real heart of AA's spiritual ideas and programs. This was the program that set the stage for astonishing 75 to 93% recovery rate in Akron and Cleveland for medically incurable alcoholics who really tried and recovered. This was a program that put God and his word first. Look at that, 75 to 93% recovery rate back in there, right? I'm going to go over here and just highlight a couple of points here. 11 points about the AA co-founders, Dr. Bob and his wife, Ann. Many of AA's 12-step program in the recovery field know very little about AA's co-founder, Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob's last name is Smith. AA was founded at his home in 855 Ardmore Avenue in Akron, Ohio on June 10, 1935. Dr. Bob's wife's name is Ann Ripley Smith. Bill Wilson called her a mother of AA. Ann held the first quiet times on the Smith porch each morning, where prayer, seeking guidance, readings from her journal, and discussion occurred. These involved mostly every AA pioneer and family members on her porch. Ann and Dr. Bob literally conducted the first halfway house. They took in newcomers often right off. They were released from the hospital. They fed them, housed them, counseled them, nursed them, and taught them about prayer, devotional, and the Christian literature then being circulated. Ann was the first Ann formed the first women's group at AA, Wives, in early years. And AA was founded long before Al-Anon was founded. Ann counseled Lois Wilson, wife of co-founder Bill, in her times of trouble in early days. Ann worked with newcomers and wives, and legendary in its success. That was from the Akron Genesis Alcoholics Anonymous, when early AAs cured and why. Ann kept a spiritual journal in her own handwriting, consisting of 64 pages in which she wrote down from 1933 to 39 the priorities and practices of early AA fellowship, which fed members on the Bible, prayer, and very material, which later was embodied into 12 steps and practical guidance on how to work with drunks. Okay, and that's a picture of the house. So, big porch. You got to fit a lot of people on that porch doing that meditation, right? I'm just kidding. So, this is what it looks like. You know, they're already open right now for Founders Day. It's going on right now, currently. Okay. Now, what I want to talk to you about is that Ann would do two-way prayer, and I have two of her two-way prayers here. So, I can't tell you I can't elaborate on anything, but I'm going to tell you what it says. You probably could read it. It says, Pelton, has guidance failed? Where have you failed? Witness powerfully, share deeply. Prayer is not begging, but makes us sensitive to receive God's grace. And Mrs. Hammer. That's from Ann Smith's written journals, page 10. This appears to be written guidance from a quiet time. Then I have another one. This was probably more in the beginning. This was page 4. Group, happiness. So you can remember they're having meetings in her house, right? So it's group, happiness, help to husband, which we know Dr. Bob. I must change. See that? I must change and let Christ run my life. Always self before. Picture changes. Humble to children, apology, patience, no nerves, and love. And again, that was from Ann Smith's page 4. So you can see that there's two guidance things going on. She's doing morning meditation on their porch before the sun rises, or as the sun's rising. Every morning, it was a must that you had to do. They didn't necessarily have meetings, but morning meditation was an absolute must in Akron. So people came to Akron to get sober. It was the only place you could get sober. It was the only hospital at the time, other than there was one in New York. So everybody came from all over the world to get sober. I feel like I'm missing one. I want to show you a couple things here. Just going to flip this around. So again, we're talking about two-way prayer. We're talking about Ann Smith doing it at their house. This is the AA's 11-step prayer and meditation roots. This is where it all comes from. There was a pamphlet written in 1920s. It's called The Quiet Time by Howard Rose. You can get the PDF files available online. It talks about the same thing, that the How to Listen to God pamphlet that we use for our morning meditation was written in the 30s. It's just has, I just got these highlighted because it's the same thing all highlighted in all of these pamphlets. They're just highlighted different colors, okay? But there's 4 different pamphlets. So I got one from the 20s, one from the 30s, one for the 40s, and then I got one from the 50s that I actually found at Akron Intergroup, okay? So we got 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, about 30 years worth of pamphlets, and they're all saying the same thing. You know, they're all talking about the four absolutes. They're all talking about getting quiet, right? Quiet time, relax, tune in, listen, right? All of them talk about the same thing about written guidance, and they're all talking about the four absolutes. It's all about listening. So I got four pamphlets here that all talk about the same thing. Again, this was real heavily. We're not talking like meetings. We're not like today. It's like, don't drink, go to meetings. Back then it was meditation, meditation, meditations. And that's what I'm trying to bring back with some of this, you know, old school. Okay, what I want to talk about, Sister Nasha. I can never talk about enough of her. She dedicated over, I think it's 30 years of her life to AA. Okay. She was working with Dr. Bob closely at the hospital. And what were they doing at the hospital? What was going on there? Because we're talking about 75, 93% recovery rate. Something was going on. And let me show you. Before I even go there, I'm going to read this. All right. The following part of the article, which appeared in a Roman Catholic publication, this was not published in AA or anything, a Roman Catholic. The Sign, I think it's called The Sign, volume 35, 9 through 11, May 1956. On August 1952, at the age of 63, the Angel of Alcoholics Anonymous arrived in Cleveland for her second assignment. Planning began for the alcoholic wing at the hospital. The name Rosary Hall Solarium came about because permission to erect the Cleveland ward came on the feast of the Holy Rosary, and because the initials of the AA co-founder R.H. Smith. So she developed a treatment center, Rosary Hall Solarium, and it's named after Dr. Bob. To gain access to Rosary Hall, a person must be sponsored by a member of Alcoholics Anonymous in good standing. So the only way you're going to get into this detox is be sponsored by a good AA member in good standing. He must have the desire not only to get sober, but also to remain sober. One thing though, there are no second chances at Rosary Hall. Patients are only permitted once. You only get one shot. Sister Anisha is the founder and director of Rosary Hall Solarium, an alcoholic ward at St. Vincent Hospital in Cleveland, Ohio. Since 1952, she has administered to the needs of 3,000 men and women who have succumbed to alcoholism. Of a total, 60% are claimed as completely cured. 60% right off the bat is completely cured, and another 20% stumble for a while and then go off drink completely, and only 20% are considered failures after the spiritual and therapeutic treatment. So we're talking 80%, if only 20% is failure, 80%. For 30 years, Sister Anisha founded both Ignatia Hall at St. Thomas in Akron and Rosary Solarium at St. Vincent was a message of hope for alcoholics and their families. Sister Ignatia retired in May 1965. She died less than a year later, on April 1966. She helped more than 20,000 alcoholics to recovery from 1935 to 1965. So for 30 years, she helped over 20,000, sponsoring many in hearing their footsteps. No wonder she was called Angel of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I read all that, but I want to talk about what they were doing at the hospital. Look at this. Look what I got here. It's a hospital procedure. It's from this article right up here. Hospital procedure. I don't have the actual, but I have it on PDF. But the important thing is, what were they doing? The first day, they admit to the sponsor escorts his patient. Day 2, he acknowledges other powerless over alcohol, humbly turning over to God. So day 2, he's doing 1, 2, and 3. Right? Day 3, moral inventory. You see that? Day 3. This is how I was sponsored. I didn't even know it until I found this article. Day 3, I did my inventory. The patient makes a searching and fearless moral inventory. He faces the past and honestly admits to God himself and to another human being the exact nature of his wrongs. Now he is sincerely asking God's help and the help of. Day 4, restitution. Right? And then day 5, makes plans to come back, to sponsor somebody else. 5 days, you go through all 12 steps. Then you leave and you go to meetings and you come back and you sponsor others. And that's how it worked. And that's what made this thing work so well, is that you had been through this process, this 12-step process, before you even left the hospital. One more thing I want to talk about Sister Nasha, and I don't think I have a picture of it here, is that she gave out the Sacred Heart Badge. And that's sort of where our chips come from. And the deal was that once you graduated, you got the Sacred Heart Badge. And if you felt like a drink, or if you did drink, you had to bring it back and give it back to her. Kind of like our chips, right? If we got, if we relapse after we have a chip, we bring it back and get a new one, right? Start over again. That's the same concept. I actually have one, but I can't show it to you right now because I don't have it available. Like, I don't know where it is. Okay. Now we're getting this percentage, right? Here's another article written in the Grapevine, 1946. It says Minneapolis records indicate 75% are successful in AA. 75%. And they list all their records for the last 5 years. It's crazy, right? 75%. What's going on? This was written August 46. What was going on that was getting right? Well, Minneapolis produced a little red book. In a little red book, it evolved for a series of notes originally prepared as 12-step suggestion for AA beginners. Okay. And it's conducted, these classes were directed by qualified members. You see, it's not uncommon. It was pretty common to run a class and have your sponsees there, or whoever, you know. And so again, I want to talk about classes. These were classes, okay, training classes, AA's training classes. Step one. These were very common. This is an outline. Old time Minneapolis AA beginners classes. This is the outlines for the beginners class. I actually have it. Detroit pamphlet that came out in their beginner class. Washington, D.C. pamphlet, again, this is the Washington, D.C. pamphlet, 1944. Again, it talks about the classes and going through all 12 steps in 1-hour sessions. Okay. So this is going on all over the place. All right. I got different articles for different. This is from Little Rock, Waterloo, Iowa. This one is from Tennessee. All right. This is Bill W. You can tell he writes Barry. Barry is from the Minneapolis group, and he writes them, and he's writing them about the book, and he says it's a great idea, and I may write one someday myself, which he ends up doing with the 12 and 12. But again, you got classes everywhere. They're conducted by veteran men and members, and it's to go through these steps as quickly as possible, right? As quickly as possible. So we're going to get them into the steps as quickly as possible, right? Talk about the 4 absolutes. We do 2-way prayer every morning. You see how it's all old school? I did that pretty quick. It's all old school, right? We're going to wake up in the morning. We're going to do our 2-way prayer. We're going to get right with God. You know what I mean? And that's the first thing we do. We get right with God, and we bring the 4 absolutes into our 2-way prayer. And we carry the 4 absolutes with us throughout the day to see if we're doing God's will or self-will. And we got that 10th step that we do. God, remove stuff from me, right? And then we can always pray and meditate and do 2-way prayer anytime that we want to. Does anybody have any questions? Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to present this as quick as I can, give you this presentation. It's recorded, but I also want to have a little time to do some meditation. Wouldn't you all like to do that with me? You don't look too enthused. Come on, hey.
Absolutely, bro.
Would you guys want to do some 2-way prayer? Because that's what I thought. Well, I kind of wanted to do some anyway with you guys. I just feel like every time I sit and I meditate with you, with all of you, it doesn't matter who's here, and I share that with you and you share it with me. I just feel like, man, we have a bond. We have a bond that Rachel, we have a bond, and I don't even know where you live. I know you're on the other side of I'm going to assume you live in the UK, but we have a bond. You post in your meditation every morning, and I read that, and I read your gratitude list. I read all of your gratitude lists. I read all your meditation. I'm the one that reads everything. Sometimes I don't even do it. Sometimes I just got a lot of pain and it just distracts me, and I battle sometimes. But you all help me. Every single one of you helped me in ways you could never even imagine, by you posting in those groups, by you posting and doing the nightly review and doing it. Sometimes it makes me cry. It makes me cry because I see you guys. I'm watching you all working this and applying this. And man, hold on to your seat. You're about to get rocketed. If you aren't even rocketed yet, just hold on to your seat. And what I love is this is an endless adventure into the 12 steps, into myself, into my spirituality. Not just with God and to myself and all of that, but also with the 12 steps. There's so many different layers. There's only so much that you can comprehend today. That doesn't mean that you're not going to comprehend. You will be able to comprehend more later. That's why I like to go to other workshops and listen to them over and over, because I can only comprehend whatever I comprehend. So if I'm throwing a big old, a lot of stuff at you, it's being recorded. It's okay. You're only able to grasp whatever you can. That's why I'm recording them. Then you can go back, and I guarantee you, when you listen to those videos a second time, you're going to get more out of it than you did the first time when you were in the meeting with me. You just will, because that's where you are. You're growing spiritually. We all want to grow spiritually. So if that's what you want to do, you're going to do that. I mean, how am I able to grow spiritually every day by a book that was written, I don't know, 70 years ago? A book that was written 70 years ago, but yet it can completely change my life. It's crazy for me to even think a book written how many years before I was born was enough to save my life. I know it's not a book. I know it's the power of God that I found in the book. You see, I want to thank you all for putting up with me during this history presentation. It's not always, it can be boring. I tried to make it quick and painless and not boring, and tried to make the stream of thoughts go from one board into the other. You kind of see how I did that? So I talked a lot about founding of AA. I talked a lot about one working with another. It says that, I think it's at the bottom. I want to say, I think it's the forward to the second edition, where it talks about, one alcoholic sitting at the kitchen table. We hope that it echoes throughout the world. Something like that. I'm kind of paraphrasing, and that's what it is. This magic happens when I sit down with another addict or another alcoholic. It don't even matter. Someone that wants to do this work, and I sit down with them and I do this work. This is why I ended it with what they were doing in Minneapolis. I ended it with the classes. The reason why is because I took that with Catherine and we ran with that for 10 years. We were carrying this message. 10 years. I don't even know how many workshops we did. I don't even know how many people we had took through that process. It's about carrying the original message with the 4 absolutes and the two-way prayer that's missing. You go to any AA meeting, go to NA meeting, go to a CA meeting. Are you going to hear people talk about two-way prayer and the 4 absolutes? I guarantee it, probably not. And if they might get one, but not the other, because those are missing elements to my recovery. That's how important it is for me to do old school. AA is watered. It's watered down. You know what? I don't like my coffee weak. I like my coffee strong. So I like my AA strong, not weak. That's where that comes from. You think about it. I want strong AA. And how am I going to get strong? I need to go back to see what they were doing to getting 75 and 93% recovery rate. Dude, that's incredible. Today, what do they say? 10, 5, 15, 20? But I'm going to tell you, in this group, it's 100% because you're all working it. It's 100% of the people that I see doing the work. It's 100%. And there is a solution in our WhatsApp group. There's 64 people in there. How many people do you think just post one time? Just posted one time. I'll give them credit for posting one post. I'll count them, right? What do we got on average? Maybe 10 out of the 64 that post regular? I'm asking you guys to give me a nod if you agree, because that's what I see. I see about 10 roughly, because there's not people that post every day, but they'll show up every once in a while and throw in, whether it's a gratitude list or something. And I'm going to count them, because there's another 50 people that aren't even doing anything. And that's how it is in any AA group that you go to. And it doesn't have to be AA. It could be NACA. It doesn't matter. Any 12-step group that you're going to go to, there's going to be a small nucleus of people doing the work that are happy, joyous, and free, and carrying that message and doing the deal. And there's going to be a large quantity that's going to say, well, he says I just got to not drink and go to meetings. That doesn't keep me sober. That wasn't going to keep Dr. Bob sober. Dr. Bob needed all. And I need it all as quickly as possible. That's why it's 4 one-hour sessions. I posted something the other day. I didn't post it. I sent it to Sean. I did 10 one-day workshops in 1 month, the month of August in 2008. That's the one that's recorded that I post from 2008, from August 2008, that was in Cleveland. Yeah, I did 10 workshops that month. 10 one-day workshops where we took everybody through the steps in one day. We did it 10 times in the month of August, and almost all of them recorded, but there was only that one that made it into YouTube from Cleveland. The one that we did in Akron didn't make it. And we ended those 10 days with with being a service and being in the naval base up in the Great Lakes and being a service to the military men. And we did it for 2 days where we did 2 workshops, 2 days in a row, back to back on the base for anyone that was a service member. And that, to me, I cried because I'm a service member. And it was just another way for me to be a service a second time, So, you know, I have lots of experience taking people through this process quick. It's not like this was not meant to be like, remember how the workshop went? We started the workshop January 11th, and look how far long it took us till we got to step 4. That's not going to work with somebody new. That's not. They'll be dead. They'll be dead. But I did that for us because you do that. It's a qualified member that's in the front conducting the workshop. What qualifies me as a qualified member is that I only had to go through the process and have an experience to be able to present it. That's it. And that's how they did it with the beginners meetings. They said the only way you can be, in the front hosting the meeting is you got to have been through this process one time and had an experience. And I'm going to tell you what I created in 2020 on there's a solution group. Chris might even be able to confirm that, but we did 3 workshops a week. We did them on Sunday, Monday, and I think it was Thursday. 3 times a week, we did back to basics. So in 1 week, we went through almost all 12 steps. And they were not, I had them all offset. So like Sunday, we do 1, 2, and 3. Monday, 4 and 5. Thursday, 6 through 10. And we did 3 meetings a week for a whole year. Not only that, but the chairperson rotated every 4 weeks. It wasn't my meeting. I gave everybody a copy of my PDF file that I worked on for years. I gave everybody a copy of it. And then it was just like Joe. It was like I took Joe and said, Joe, you've been through it for 4 weeks. Now it's your turn. You got to step up and do it. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. That's okay. All you got to do is read the script and add some of your personal experience in there. Okay. And Joe fumbles a little bit for the first, but after 4 weeks, after him going through and taking us through the whole series, Joe wants to do it again because he had a wonderful experience. He was scared at first, but after that, he was good. He wants to do it again because he wants to be able to put more. And I say, hold on, Joe, we got to give Chris a shot. And then when Chris is done, we're going to give Rachel a shot. And then Joe, you're going to be up second shot. Me, I'll take a step back. I take a step back. I know what it's like to be on stage in front of thousands of people and doing it. But what if I took Joe? Or what if I took Chris and put them and allowed you guys to have the experience that I've been having on the other side of the table for all these years? Now it's your turn. You experience it. I will give you whatever you want to let you experience it on the other table. And that's what I want to start doing with these workshops. On these Saturday, I want to implement, well, at least we'll go through one. We want to go through one. This is what I recorded. This is what you're going to listen to from 2007 and 2008. Listen to what the difference to what I do it now. 17 years, okay? I've been doing the same thing. And if you watch one of those videos where it's steps 1, 2, and 3, you watch what I do the next time I do a workshop in steps 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to bring in stuff you have never seen before. And that's going to change you every time, because I've been doing it for so long, 20 something years. I'm very passionate, and I can 1 through 3 in 90 minutes. That's what the newcomers need. That's what I need. Get me through this process as soon as I can. You know what? I ain't going to like step 4. I already know that. I'm not going to like it, but I got to do it. And that's what I got to do. But there's guidance in all of that. When you're guiding somebody through all that, I don't even have to think, right? And that's what we want to help the newcomer, not to really think so much, because that's the problem. I overthink. I don't know about you all, but I like to overthink on everything. But if I got somebody guiding me where I don't really have to think, it makes it a lot easier. So I traveled the country and we put on these 12-step workshops, taking people through the steps in a day. I'm going to tell you, I got ridiculed. I got bashed. I got anything you can think of. Brian, you're changing AA and all this. And I remember crying. with Catherine and just crying. because we're getting opposition from people everywhere we're going. People are coming up against us. But at every workshop I did the same history presentation, maybe a little bit more because I had like hour to do it. It's the same thing that I just did with you guys today. I did it much longer. I would go into a little bit more detail, but I went through those 4 or 5 archives I got. I went through this pretty quick, and it's because I had a stream of thought that connected them all together. You see? Again, the point is to get through this as quickly as possible. I know I'm not going to like it. It's not going to feel good. It's not going to feel good, but I'm going to guarantee something. When I don't feel good and I'm looking at myself and I don't like what I see and I don't feel good, when I get on the other side of that, oh my God, when I get on the other side of that, it's all gone. When I get on the other side of it, to me, that's a spiritual experience. When I get on the other side of that, I'm elated. I'm like, it's like, it's like something from the unconscious is now gone and I'm more conscious and I'm all passionate and everything. You understand what I'm talking about? Am I lose it? Did I lose you guys? Or are you guys still with me on this? Because that happens to me a lot. You know, I don't know if it's things that are being awake in the unconscious, and then all of a sudden, this is fired up like I'm in high school or I'm in school. You know, this is so fired up. I got so many ideas just burning off all the time. I got to write stuff down. I feel like, man, I hated school. I bombed out in school. I hated reading. I would never read out loud. And if I had to do a project in front of the class, I am not going to school for a whole week. Give me an F. It ain't happening. And now look at me, right? Look at me. Man, I took a lot of fear for me to face, you know? Fear. Fear. I was in an international, 1995. It was in San Diego. 56,000 people were there. There's a meeting room. My sponsor grabs me, brings me into this room. Thousands of people. And I'm like, there's no chairs. And he goes, no, just go get in line right there. Okay. I'm thinking it's the line for the coffee. No, it's the line to go speak. I'm thinking, well, where's the coffee? You know, line's getting shorter. Now they got 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes to speak in front of like 10,000 people, right? And what do? I go up there and I'm going, my sponsor goes, breathe, breathe. Oh, yeah, it was funny. Yeah, I was having, that wasn't like I was having a panic attack or nothing, but oh my God, right? Whoa, whoa. He's like, breathe. What's your name? That's what people said. People said, what's your name? People were helping me. Brian, what are you? Alcohol. Then I was okay. Once I said, Brian, I'm alcoholic, I was good. And they had to gong me because I wanted to keep going after 2 minutes because I wasted about 30 seconds trying to breathe. Okay. Now we're talking about facing fears. I would never have been able to do this, talk in front of 4 of you and share an experience or share something from my heart. There's just no way. I was so immature. I couldn't even do that when I came here. When I came here, I couldn't even do that because I was immature. What do they say? The age that you start using is the age you are when you get here, maturity wise. Well, I don't even know how old I was when I started using. It was before 10. So now I'm arriving and I'm doing immature things like, I'm getting ready to fart and I lift my leg up and I get out the lighter. You know where this is going. Okay. I mean, that's how I acted in meetings. Boom, big old flame going through the middle of the table. And everybody's like, holy shit, like I'm disruptive. People had to talk to me. You know, dude, you got to chill. Now you got to understand, I'm 28 years old. I just want to have fun. I'm so glad I'm alive that I made it through that I want to be the class clown. But there is no class clown in AA. And see, this is serious shit. This is life and death. And my sponsor pulled me aside and said, don't you ever do anything like that again. And I'm like, but I'm only having fun. This ain't the right place. He said to set me right where I was at. This ain't the place for have. This is about life and death, dude. Get back in the meeting and I want to see notes. Stop messing around. I'm glad that I had people like that. I am. So how about we take some time and practice what Ann Smith practiced? Now, we're gonna do two-way prayer. I did my morning meditation, but before we start, I want to read my morning meditation to you all. I did it out in the woods. I went for a walk in the morning and I was able to catch the sunrise out on the trail. And I took amazing pictures. I'll post a couple later. But I'm going to read it to you and then we're going to have time to do that. All right. Now, for you, if anyone, I don't know, Chris, if you haven't done it, you can do the morning meditation now. For you, three that are in the UK, when we do the morning, you guys can do your nightly meditation. Because the two-way prayer, the prayer is still going to be the same. Whether I do a morning prayer or even I do the nightly prayer at the end of what corrective measures should be taken, it's almost always the same. God's still going to talk to me. So if you want to do your nightly review now, that's okay. And then when we share it, you can just share you can share it if you want, or you can share your prayer, and then I'll share mine. But I want to read what I got this morning. I was out in the middle of like nowhere. I was like on a mountain, and I was just watching the sunrise. And I went to that two-way prayer meeting. So I had that on, in the background, and I was sitting on a rock. And it said, and this is what I got from God. My child, the pain you feel inside is an old self. An old self has died. But a new, more spiritual self will emerge. Pain is the touchstone to spiritual growth. The pain does make it feel like you're dead inside. Because a part of you has. This can be confusing and taken as self-pity, but it is not. Let go of this part that no longer serves you anymore. I will take away something I will not take away something without replacing it with something else. Better, new, and improved self. Let go. Let go. I got you. Trust, rely, and depend upon my power to always be there to help you rise and go be who you're meant to be. Now go be. I'm going to read that one more time. Trust, rely, and depend upon my power to always be there to help you rise. Go be who you're meant to be today. That's what I got. All right. You guys like me to read like Four Absolutes or How to Listen to God or anything like that? Or would you want to just jump right into the meditation and we can just go quiet? It's up to you. If you guys want me to read something, I will. I could read the 24-hour day book if you want me to do that. What do you guys want me to do? Yeah? Is that good? And then we'll just do how much time you want? 5 minutes? Is that 5 good?
Brian, can I just say, when we did the last meditation, your voice became so soothing. Yeah, it was amazing.
You mean that one that we did, the one we did on Wednesday?
On Wednesday, yeah, it was amazing.
Let me find something real quick. I'll find something to read, and I know what I want to read. It's just going to take me a second. I got to Google it real quick. I'm going to read the 11th. I'm going to read the prayer of St. Francis. How's that? That will definitely put you right over the edge. Okay, I just got to Google it real quick. It won't take me a second to pull it right up. That's not what I wanted. Hang on. Give me 1 second. Almost there. Images. Okay, this should be good. All right. Is everybody ready? What I'm going to do is I'm going to read that prayer. I'm going to read it slowly. And then when I'm done, I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to set a 5-minute timer. Okay? And then after that 5 minutes, and then we'll come back in. Sound good? Okay, let's take a moment. Get yourself in a nice, comfortable position. You can even lay down if you want. I want you to Feel the weight of your body in the sofa. Feel the weight of your body on your feet. Getting real present. It's where God wants us to be, is right here in this moment. What do you hear? Do you hear anything? I can hear the ceiling fan going. What do you feel inside, below the surface? That's where we want to go. I want you to visualize. It's almost like a visualization of you going within yourself, like you're going into your chest. I want you to visualize you going through your chest cavity. And now you're on the other side and you're like inside. You can't see anything. Nothing looks familiar. When we're in a spiritual realm, nothing's going to look familiar and nothing's going to make sense, because we live in a material world where everything has to make sense. And if it doesn't, we throw it away for something that does. But when we're in the spiritual realm, nothing will make sense other than what God is saying to us. And that's why it's important for us to tune in. And we do that by getting present, getting in touch with our senses, our five senses. Touch. It's more of a feel. Sounds like the weight of your body. Feel the weight of your body sinking into the chair, sinking into the couch. I don't really use sight because I like to have my eyes closed. So we're not seeing with your eyes. We're seeing within. We're going to go within. So when I say see, it's not with the eyes. It's the same thing with, where step 10 says watch. It's not about watching with your eyes. It's about a new awareness within yourself, a new being aware. And a lot of that, my awareness, starts from this two-way prayer with God, because God's the one that's going to make me aware of something. It won't not necessarily be me. What do you smell? Take a breath in. Take a deep breath in. And take a deep breath in. I'll count to 10. A 10 count from the time I go all the way in to the time I'm done. Nice and slow. And exhale and count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Go back in and count to 10. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Feel the air coming into your lungs and filling up your lungs when you get to 10. And then feel the exhale as you're exhaling it and your lungs collapsing inside. We're going to do this for a little bit. As you're inhaling, inhale God. Inhale the love that God has. Inhale God's power. Count to 10. And then when you exhale, you're exhaling self. You're exhaling what no longer serves you, and you're letting it go. It doesn't own you. You're releasing it with your exhale. Inhale God. Exhale self. Exhale whatever is bothering you. Exhale it. Don't keep it in so it owns you. Let it go. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon or forgiveness. Where there is doubt, let me have faith. Where there is despair, given hope. Where there is darkness, we bring the light. And where there is sadness, there is joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born in eternal life. Amen. Okay, let's take 5 minutes. Right. How everybody doing there? Everybody coming back here slowly. What's today's date? The 6th, 7th? What is it?
7th today, Brian.
The
7th. Okay. I'm gonna read a couple things. I'm gonna read this book. Mind if I just read today's thing? Is that okay? June 7th. Alcoholism is progressive illness. We go through the 3 stages of social drinking, trouble drinking, and merry-go-round drinking. We land in hospitals and jails. We eventually lose our homes, our families, and our self-respect. Yes, alcoholism is a progressive illness, and there are only 3 ends to it: the insane asylum, the morgue, and total abstinence. Will I choose not to take the first drink? Meditation for the day. You not only can live a new life, but you also can grow in grace and power and beauty. Reach ever forward and upward after the things of the spirit. In the animal world, the very form of an animal changes to enable it to reach that upon which it delights to feed. Your whole character changes as you reach upward for the things of the spirit, for beauty, for love, for honesty, for purity, for unselfishness. See the 4 absolutes. Reaching after these things of the spirit, your whole nature becomes changed so that you can best receive and delight in the wonders of the abundant of life. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may reach forward and upward. I pray that my character may be changed by this reaching upward for the things of the spirit. I thought that was really good. I also thought it was kind of heavy too. I kind of really thought provoking. I'll go first if that's okay. I'm just going to read what I wrote, and then whoever wants to go next can. Don't be so hard on yourself. Be nice and easy on yourself. Instead, oh, I wrote instead. And easy on yourself. Show love. Show love in all that you do. Spend more time with me in walking meditation today. I really like walking meditation. Keep your heart and soul open to any and all possibilities coming your way today. That's what I got. If anybody got anything out of what I shared, would like to share that? Or actually, we could share that at the end if you like. If anybody else would like to share what they have, they can just jump in and go next.
Yeah, I'll go next.
Okay.
I'm quite new to this. It's not something I find easy, to be honest. But I did. I've just put down it is okay to be kind to myself and discard anything which takes my peace today, which I'm holding on to. Let it all go as it is. It's not my business. It's yesterday's business, and it is okay to discard it from my mind. I just felt a sense of freeness from something what happened, it's people, places and things. But I have been holding on to it, a little grudge, a little annoyance. So I just felt it's okay to just let it go because it's not my bad behaviour and it's not my business. But it's just something what griped me in a meeting last night. But that's not my bad behaviour, I've got to let it go. That's what I felt.
And that's what I got from what you said was it's okay to let go. That's what I kept getting was it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And then at the end, it's okay. Because that's what I'm kind of dealing with the same thing of letting go of a part of me that will never be anymore. And a part of that, just it's a letting go,
Mm.
you know, and it's not always easy to let go of something. But I notice that if I hang on to it, I'm going to be in more pain hanging on to it than letting go. It doesn't serve me any, it's a negative thing by me holding on to it. Joe, would you like to jump in? Only because you offered.
Yeah, the pen was still going when Rachel
Oh, no.
shared as well. The pen's been going. Brr, it's still ink. Yeah, from the prayer, from all of that experience, you know, I pray that my character may change to a high, you know, a higher spiritual standing, which means the death of parts of the self that are not in God's will, and to let go, and something that, you know, that there's, it may be pain, but on the other side of that pain is the fourth dimension, and have faith in that. That's, you know, I'm protected by God through that pain, and yeah, light into the shadows, and to give that love when your ego doesn't want to give that love. There's only one way that's going to happen, and that's with God's power. And yeah, you know, from what Rachel shared there, let go of those resentments. It's okay. It's okay. Your ego wants to hang on to them, but it's okay. Let go. That's in coming back. That's the death of the parts of self that aren't part of God's plan, and it might be painful, but it's all worth it. It's all worth it. Faith.
Thank you, Joe. Anybody else like to read what you wrote down? I notice that when we go around and we share, I often hear God speaking through other people. I heard God speak through Rachel. I heard God speak through Joe to get to me, because God does that. God will use me if I'm in a meeting to get to somebody else. And then someone says, hey, can you repeat what you said? I can't. I never can, because when the Spirit moves you, I'm sure that all of you have had that moment where at least all of you have had a chance to, you know, to work with another person at least once. And you just know, when you know what you're talking about, it's like it comes over you, like the passion and the confidence. I think it's more confidence. It comes over you, right? And you just feel like you know what you're doing, you know? To me, that's a spiritual experience. To know, intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle me. Those type of situations would totally baffle. When I gotta help somebody, oh my God, I was never ever confident in what I was doing. It doesn't matter what I was doing. I was just never confident, period, in anything that I was doing. And I'm talking when I was little, you know? And then once I get sober and I start doing this, I start to get more confident in doing this. You see? So when I start to when I get together with somebody, I'm excited, you know, because I'm excited because I'm about to learn something new about somebody else, but I might learn something new about myself, you know, and I might even learn something new about God, because God's guiding me to that person. You see? So when we were going around the room, you know, or we're going around sharing, you know, what I got from Joe was, you know, death and rebirth, which I got in my morning meditation when I was the pain. And you know, it's the same thing. I go back to that third step prayer. We were reborn. You know, that's what we're talking about. We're talking the death of self-will in the rebirth of us aligning our will with God's will. You see? So I got the death and rebirth. I got bring light into my shadows. And then I just wrote death of the bad self, because there's a good self too that don't want to kill off. There's a good self that we, you know, that good self I want to hang on to. It's the bad self, you know, that needs to be destroyed. You know, because we all got, you know, it's almost like this yin and yang going on in a sense, you know, a good self and a bad self. But what I've learned is that the longer I'm sober, there's more of a good self. And the good self takes over. The longer I'm sober, the moment I pick up a drink, it's black. There's no more good self. You know what I'm saying? There's no more because you're going completely back. So it's like the yin yang. You got the black and the white. And the black is like the bad, and the white is like the pure. You see? And that's kind of how I look at it. Is now that I'm sober, I want to have more white than black because the black is unconscious. That's how I look at it. Now you two, there's two, Chris and Carlos. You could share if you'd like to. If you didn't write anything down, you don't want to share. That's okay. I just wanted to do this because I think it's always good for us to do this together to connect on a spiritual level together. I just love when we get together with these meetings and we're able to share spiritual stuff. I just feel like it makes me feel like I have a deeper connection to each one of you.
Evening, everyone. My name is Carlos. I've been meditating for a little while now. It was extremely difficult for me. And I can't believe this stuff is working. I'm doing this every day. And I'm doing probably more willingly. I'm not missing some like this week maybe I missed one day. I was very busy and I had builders around in the house. But every time when I meditate, it's something comes, some sort of thought comes in. Like now I've been meditating and the thought came into my head that I need to stop changing things anywhere I go, because anywhere I'm involving in anything I do business wise or anywhere in any shape or form, I'm always trying to change that the other people should do as I please for me to feel well. And the thought come in. I didn't even thought about this. It says in the book. And I thought, Carlos, you just need to be present. If you come, just listen, regardless you like or you don't like. You just be there. And that thought, it's so intuitiously that you just are just feeling like internally. It's not just the thought. It's like I'm feeling it that I am wrong in these situations and this has to change. Like you, Brian, shared, the God talking through the other people. I only recently started to learn how to listen to the people, because all I used to do, my ego just wants to fight back. Anyone says anything, I just want to prove them they're fucking wrong. Do you know what I mean? And I just feel more important than anyone, until you, Brian, told me, shut the fuck up. It wasn't nice to begin with, but I see the benefits of that. I just learned through the pain. I only can learn through the pain, like continuous pain and pain. And you notice, I don't think I need to go through that pain, but I think I'm choosing this unconsciously, It's just crazy. Not doing this work, not doing that. I just don't get it. This is crazy illness, this. It's nothing to do with these drugs and alcohol. This is nothing. It's a minor. My life, it was in a trash can, and I thought I'm all right. These exercises, they really help me. I don't know how about you guys, but it really, really helps me. It's complicated to me. I don't understand some of the parts, but what I'm understanding is I don't really need to understand. I just need to do this, and this understanding probably will come later down the line because I want to learn everything now. Oh, I need this spirituality now. I need to get these good feelings. Comes very, very slowly for me. And you know what? More slowly it is, I think, for me. It's more like I'm appreciating this stuff. Do you know what I mean? It just little grow, little by doing these discipline things. And I'm starting to think I need to start doing this step 10. I'm thinking what that step 10 will offer me to seeing you're wrong, like today I was lying out of no reason. I just started to lie to a woman. Somebody came to buy a dog and I'm just lying these things. I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing? And I'm more conscious of myself, which before I wasn't. I just lie and I think this is normal. I just starting to see my really self. This is what type of person I am. But this stuff, it works. It's like I said, I spent like 6 years of doing nothing in these meetings, not doing the program. That doesn't work for me. I'm too sick to recover on meetings power. I I'm choosing to do this stuff today because I've got no other options. I tried my ways. I tried meetings power. I tried sponsors power. I tried everything. It doesn't work. I need to plug into this power. I need to try my hardest, do these disciplines, and see what's gonna happen in order for me to recover from this state of mind. Because I'm ill. I'm a very sick guy, but I'm getting better. I really, really feel since I've been doing these meditations, I feel like something is shifted within me. I cannot believe this. That I could just wow. It just blows my mind. I'm a lot calmer. I'm more I'm writing about this tolerance and acceptance and judging and stuff like this. More I'm getting to the situation, I'm just pausing. I'm thinking, right, this is wrong thinking. I'm handing to the God. God help me with this. God help me with that. And that's bloody working. I can't believe it. That's just been my experience, guys. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Hey, Carlos, sound like great experience. Honestly, I was enjoying here listening to you. I'm really enjoying, and all of you will have the chance to. I'm really enjoying watching the change in Carlos. And you're all gonna, have that experience to watch somebody that you're working with, someone that you sponsor. And I just happen to see the change in Carlos, but you're gonna see that when you work with another addict or another alcoholic. You're gonna see the change that we see in Carlos. You're gonna see in somebody that you're working with. And that's going to make you feel proud of yourself. The first time I ever felt proud of myself was when I was working with somebody and they were doing the deal and they were getting it and they're at meetings and they're sharing their experience and they got it. They got it. And that was the first time I've ever felt proud of myself. I mean, yeah, I might have felt proud when I was little running a race or something, but I'm talking about as an adult, I'm proud of me. It's not just like going to work and coming home and paying bills. I'm talking about helping somebody else, maybe even I might even save their life. Man, that makes me feel good and proud of the life that I am living today. I'd never that was not in I never wanted to help people. I was all about what can I get out of you? What are you going to give, to me? And today it's all about how can I help? How can I help? You know? That's all it's about. How can I help? Chris, you want to add anything, brother? You want to share what you got?
Um, Chris, I'm an alcoholic. This time in, I've been here, been around okay for some time, and I've been through the old, where I've been through both, where we talked about this people weren't following the program. Just, I couldn't stay sober. That's pretty much why I had so much trouble. Is we never did go through the book like this. We never did do the steps like this. I had a sponsor that never went through the book. Just go to meetings, do 90 days, 90 meetings, and don't drink. I couldn't do that. But I finally I understand what it means now, what an alcoholic is. I know that's me. I fit that description. The powerlessness, the obsession, the phenomenon of greed. But what I do now so much more is the prayer and meditation really helps. I'm learning to listen. Learn to listen. Just listen. And let go. I don't have to force the issue of, you know, just let go and let God. Like I meditate on things like God does for me what I can't do for myself. So I rest in that. I believe in that. And then other things that main thing is just listening, like to set aside prayer, you know, helps a lot to leave my ego out of things, to surrender my ego, myself. My life has changed quite a bit. Um, I've never made it this far in recovery. I've had a spiritual experience. But one of the main things I also focus on as I write down is the higher power that I choose to believe in promises to give me a new heart. What I mean by new heart is a new way of thinking. My thinking has changed by the spiritual principle. I just continue to walk in that day by day. Our thinking will change as a matter of just, practicing the absolutes. Mine was the opposite, really. Absolute dishonesty, absolutely selfish. I was the opposite, but getting better at being, practicing the absolute honesty. That's what gives me the new spirit. I get a new spirit. I believe in that. I believe the spirit that we practice gives us a foundation to it provides strength, gives me strength and courage. I don't have that fear like I used to walk in fear all the time, dreading and just fearful of everything. Most of my fears I don't have like I used to. Walking trust the process, trust it, listen, just listen and trust. And it's the best thing that I could do for my day today. I meditate on that. It's like one big, there's no break in my meditation. I'm always listening to something. If I could be helpful to someone, I'm more willing to be helpful. I've sponsored a few members and things went well. But I was more out of myself, seeing about what I can get out of it. Just hoping that they get something good, That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
While you were sharing, I had a couple thoughts, and I don't remember if they started. It might started with Carlos and went into Chris, but what I was getting was I don't need to control. I don't need to control anything. I think it came from Carlos was saying that, and what I received it is I just don't need to control anything. I just don't. And on top of that, on that next thought was I don't need to control anything. Was that I don't even manage my own life today. I don't even manage my own life, and it's not even unmanageable. And when I tried to manage it, it was out of control. Today, I just don't even try to manage it. I just get up and do my morning meditation, and I'm just led by God as much as I can, but self-will comes in there, but I just don't even manage it. I can't even explain it to you. I just don't even manage anything in my life, and my life is not out of control, and it's not unmanageable. I think it's got something to do with God. Because if you put me in the manage of it, I'll screw anything all up, you know? But that was my thought was I don't manage my own life and it's not unmanageable. That was sort of like an experience. And I want to say I think I got that from Carlos was the thought when he was started talking about the note about controlling and not controlling. And that's where I just kind of went into the whole thing about I don't even control my own life. I don't even control that. because it's not out of control. If it's not out of the control, then there's no need to control, right? It just goes out the window. There's no need to do it. There's just no need to. And then I just find is that my life is not, I don't even manage my life, but it's not unmanageable. It's not at all. So I surrender my ego to you, God. And that's what I was sort of getting when I think Chris was talking about. I surrender my ego to you, God, for you to help keep my ego right sized so I can experience contented emotional sobriety. When my ego is right sized, I'm going to experience that at that moment, but only at that moment when the ego is right sized. If it's my ego is not right sized, I'm going to feel some kind of discontent because I'm not experiencing contented sobriety. So when I'm feeling something that's content, I got to tap into that new awareness from step 10 and see I'm looking within myself, this new awareness. Maybe it's something going on that I just got to look a little closer at, you know, with that new awareness that we have. Again, what I'm saying in step 10, where it says to watch, we're not looking with our eyes. We're looking like with our conscious awareness, being aware of a defect. I can't watch with my eyes. By the time I see it with my eyes, it's too late. I already got to make amends. You see, that's why it's awareness within, to be aware of your thoughts and your feelings. Be aware. And when you're aware, and then you're watching. The last thing I wrote down was get out of self. That is always, I think Chris said, that's always the answer. When I get out of self, I just got to get out of my own head and out of my own way. If I stay out of my head and out of my way, and you just let God, even though I'm going to tell you, I didn't trust God. And it was hard for me to depend upon God because I depend upon no one but myself. That is how I was raised. It was pounded into my brain. So I come here, I struggle with trying to rely upon something that I can't even see. And I can't, and I'm never going to fully comprehend nor define. But yet, I'm going to rely on it. I'm going to believe in it. And I'm going to trust it. There's only one reason why I'm going to give it all those things. And that's because I feel it inside. And that's what makes it real, because I feel it inside me. I feel it. What does it say? The spirit will move through us or something like that. I feel that in me. That shit's real. You all feel it too. That's why it's real inside of you. You've got it. There's been times in my life, even in my drunken state of being, the most drunkenest state of being I ever had, there still could be a moment of clarity. For 1 second, you might go, well, this might hurt. You see, the moment of clarity, I call it the God shot. Even when I'm in the most unconscious state of being, even God can still get in there and get to you. Because that's what got me sober. That really was. I desperately needed God, and God just came. Isn't that what it says in the book? Right? Now, I didn't know that God came, and I didn't call it God. I didn't even know what to call it. I'm not going to comprehend it or define it, so I wasn't going to name it. But you know what? I didn't have to name it to feel it, to make it real. We're talking about power of God that changes people's lives. You got to let that inside. Open your heart to it. Open your soul. The power. When I'm talking about God, we're talking the power of God that changes lives, just like it changed Ebby. It pulled Ebby from what, to death, back to life to carry the message to Bill. And it's doing the same for us. Heck, it's bringing Carlos back to life. He wouldn't even talk before, and look at him now. You see, he's just tapping in, and he's just tapping into. We're all just tapping into the little bit of this, man. I'm in spiritual kindergarten every day that I wake up, but I want it. I need to live the spiritual way of life. So each morning I wake up, I'm in spiritual kindergarten when I go into my two-way prayer, having just made conscious contact. I'm beginning every day. I'm a beginner just like all of you. I'm a beginner. I go to the meeting. I'm a beginner. I share just like anybody else. And sometimes I don't get a lot, and sometimes I do. It's just we're all that different. We're all some days I might get a lot and you might get a little. And then when I share what I got with you, you might get a lot from me. And I might get a little from you. It's all, man, there's days where I might write just a little, and then there's days where I might want to just write pages. And that's okay because God's talking to me. And I don't want to just write it all down. That's good because you can go back and you see how I posted stuff that I did, writings I did from 20 years ago. Did you see that? I was posting stuff I did in 2005 to show you 20 years ago what it was like. It was just like Ann's notes. If you just words, it was all words. It was a couple sentences. It wasn't prayers. It was words. It was inspirational. And that's what I got for a long time. And now it's just changed into a prayer from God to me. Sometimes it's a prayer from me to God. Sometimes it's both. It doesn't, there's no right or wrong, of doing this. It's just opening your heart and do it. Get out the pen and put the pad and start writing down what's coming to mind, what's coming up here. I find that when I do the writing and I practice trying to write the stream of consciousness of what's going on in my mind, and try to put it in words and try to get all, I find that the more that I do that, the easier it becomes. The more that I practice. That's why it says in the book, we have to work at this constantly. I got to work at this conscious contact constantly, like all the time, throughout the day. When something happens, I got to pause. What am I going to do? I'm going to go pause and do another two-way prayer. I'm going to go talk to God, even if I got to go talk to him in my head or in the bathroom or whatever. I need to, I'm going to take that pause and I'm going to do a two-way prayer and get right with God. And whatever's bothering me, you know, again, that could go on throughout the day, like Chris was talking about. I know for me, I'd like to be like the spiritual guru all the time and have this like deep connection and just kind of everywhere I go, everybody's gonna kind of move out of the way because I just putting off this great, powerful spiritual energy that just really, you know what I mean? And I want to be maybe even have a shirt that might say, spiritual guru on it, and maybe a necklace and a couple of chains and and just we can beef that all up with some dreads too. But you see, it's not even about any of that. It's not even about any of that. It's about you. It ain't about me. It's about you and your relationship with the power of God or your relationship with God. It's you. It's all individually. So my experience, my relationship with God is personal to me. I share it, but it's personal. It's a personal relationship that I have, that I've developed in prayer meditation, in quiet time. I've developed this relationship where we talk back and forth just like we're talking now. But it's taken me time just to get to that point to be able to do that because I struggled. Now, some people, I bring them on, I turn them on to this, and they get it right away. Bam, they're writing some amazing prayers, and that's okay. We're all at different levels at this, and some of us might struggle for a while, and then maybe we'll get it. We're all at different levels. So don't compare yourself to somebody that might be brand new. All of a sudden, he's writing all kinds of prayers, and he's doing way better than me, and I'm going, dude, look what I was doing 20 years ago, and look what you're doing right now. We're all at different levels, man. Spiritually, we're all at different levels, and that's the way it is. We're just at different levels. If that makes sense to you, I'm not saying that I'm any higher or any lower. It's just a different level of spiritual that I'm able to handle. You see, we're at different levels because I can't handle what the next level is. I don't understand. Or so I'm going to stay where I'm at for a while until I'm able to. And whatever that next level is, I don't know until it reveals itself. Does that make sense? And I look at it as levels, as it's the level is the deepness within my soul or within myself. However you want to, I look at the level as peeling layers of the onion off because I want to go inside. I want to go inside as deep to the core, to the root of that selfish, self-centered ego, to the root. And we want to pull it out root and branch, right? But I got to get all the way down to the root first. And that's where I go in that meditation. I kind of, does that make sense? I sort of peeling layers of the onion off in meditation, just like we do in step 4. We do the same thing like in meditation. So each time I can go a little deeper, and I stay there for a while, and the next meditation I might go a little deeper. I stay there for a while, and I might stay there for a few months, and the next meditation, all of a sudden, somebody might say, hey, you want to try this in meditation? And I do, bam, it brings me to another level. And I'm like, yes, you know? And then someone, hey, you want to try this? Sure, and I'll try that. And it takes me to another, you see? It's all about a different experience within myself, with me. And if this is can happen to me with the different layers that I'm been able to, it can all happen to all of you. And I'm talking about not just like with step 4, where you're peeling layers of the onion with remembering stuff and inventorying of the unconscious and stuff that you remembered. I'm talking about step 11 and going deeper within yourself on a spiritual plane, into the spiritual realm that it talks about. We have entered the world of the spirit inside, where it's safe and protected within. That's why I tried to do that little visual thing. And when I did it with myself last night, where I was visualing in meditation, I was visually envisioning myself of going into my chest. You know, so like my rib cage is right here. My rib cage is by my head. And now my rib cage is behind my head, and my head's inside the rib cage. And what do I see? Well, it's all dark, because I'm really not inside my rib cage. I'm inside the spiritual realm. That's where I'm going. I always want to think with my eyes, right? But my eyes are not to see in the spiritual. It's not what I'm going to see, it's what I'm going to feel. I hope that makes sense. Because I used to always think, like, oh, I got to watch. So I'm watching at step 10. I'm always watching, right? I'm like on this, and I'm always, it's not about watching. It's about being aware of what you're thinking and what you're feeling. Even though it says watch, I'm a watching with my new awareness. You understand? I'm not watching with my eyes. It's a new awareness that you've developed inside. And you're going to, you're going to take that new awareness through this two-way prayer, and you're going to enhance that even more. That awareness, because of two-way prayer. This is just an endless adventure. Just when you think you get to a point where you think you got it a little figured out, it's like you don't, because there's just more will be revealed. Anybody else want to share anything before we wrap this up? Maybe if anybody wrote anything down for three-way prayers. I already shared mine as we were going around, but if anybody else got anything else from somebody else that they'd like to share, you're gonna unmute yourself and just share it.
I just think it's amazing that the spirits. So with Chris, I got peace, hope, trust, acceptance, rebirth, life recreated. Is the spiritual experience I had from what Chris shared. And from Carlos, my brother, I got miracles, my friend. I got power, man. Discipline, patience, plug into this power, miracles present. But the spirit from Chris, from Carlos, the same spirit, power and peace. Power and peace. How do you put power and peace together? Because it's happened this evening. And it's a beautiful experience. And I'm hugely grateful for it. All of you. Amazing.
Go ahead, Rachel.
No, I'm all right.
Oh, I just saw you were unmuted, so I thought you were going to jump in. From what Joe was saying, I just got, stay present. Power, peace, power, peace. A new power and a new peace. And guess what? It's within. It's within here. In here, not outside. Everything's in here. Everything in peace, in a new power within. I like that. Why don't we, if everybody's good, close up the meeting. If anybody else wants to share anything else before we do that, well,